Simpl, which is our series that we have been running together with Simpl in order to be able to connect with, help with a lot of founders like yourselves who are building and in the process of building D2C brands. Today's topic, of course, is building a dream team for your D2C brand, which is, of course, one of the most critical aspects in general in order to be able to scale your company. And we've been hearing so much about hiring and talent issues lately in order to, and this is a point of struggle for most founders like yourselves. I will just remind you all during this session, I think towards the latter half, we will be putting in a link for a feedback form. Request you all to kindly take a few minutes, couple of minutes maybe, to fill that feedback form. It helps us further refine this series that we are working to help support founders like yourselves. So once again, coming back to this session's topic, building a dream team for your brand, we have with us today some very, very phenomenal founders. We have Chakradhar Gade, who is the co-founder of Country Delight. We've got Neha Kanth, who is the founder director of Clovia. And anchoring this will be Nitya Sharma, who's the co-founder and CEO of Simpl. So without taking much time, I would hand this over to Nitya. Nitya, over to you.
Thank you, Upasna, and thank you so much, Neha and Chakradhar, for taking the time. I think today we'll be talking for the most part about the startup journey, and one of the very important part of the journey that makes the journey worthwhile, oftentimes successful, and fun is the team that helps all of us build the company that we are trying to build. So we'll focus on that. But before that, I think so that the audience and all of us have slightly more context, what would be awesome is, Upasana just did a quick background introduction. It'd be good to just like get into how you guys started your journey. And Neha, maybe we can start with you. Just walk us through how you stumbled into your aha moment, and then of course how you started Clovia, and then any fun fact, anything that could be very interesting in the journey that would be interesting.
Right. So, well, I grew up in a very small town called Haridwar in North India. And so growing up, before that, actually, I should tell what Clovia is, what I've been doing. Clovia is a lingerie brand. We started out as a lingerie brand, but now we added other categories which are intimate and personal to women, like sleepwear, loungewear, activewear, shapewear, and now personal care as well. We've launched a brand on personal care. So we all things intimate and that a girl needs a trustworthy partner to be with. So that's Clovia for you. And now my journey, like I said, I grew up in a small town where up till the point, till very late in life, till almost I got to the point of being married, that all my underwear was bought by my mother. I never went to the store, and it was bought over the counter. So there was no question of size being a factor, I guess, in it. So I grew up being a very uncomfortable teen, and thereafter, and as a sports person, the problem was compounded for me. And looking back now, I can understand why so many girls drop out of sports, and generally it becomes difficult to stay active. So that's even when I started work in my corporate life also, I had not yet pinpointed the problem of being uncomfortable or not being able to carry yourself confidently to the problem of right underwear. This happened when I traveled a little bit to Germany and just walked into a regular store and got fitted for a bra, and that was the aha moment for me. And I thought, why this is not happening in India? And it wasn't a very expensive product, even by Indian standard. So I came back, looked into it. We understood that the problem lies largely with the way supply chain is structured in India, and the way that the product is sold over the counter and stuff. So we built the whole, then we knew the solution lies in speaking directly to the customer. Although D2C as such didn't, this term was coined much later by somebody who did all of us a favor and gave us a name. Otherwise, we call ourselves a customer feedback based brand. And so now we are here.
Awesome. Wow. That's a great story, Neha. And like, as you said, right, I mean, I think the whole genesis of D2C is, how can you directly be in touch with the customer and be customer centric, and then of course
Yeah.
iterate and make your product better with feedback and so on.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, Neha, for that background. Chakradhar, I'm sure you also have a interesting story here. Would love to hear your story.
Yeah, hi. Great to be here, Nitya, and nice to connect with you as well, Neha. Just a little bit about Country Delight. Country Delight is a direct-to-home consumer brand. What we do is deliver food essentials from directly from the source, which is the farmer, all the way to the doorstep of the customer on a regular basis. Milk is the hook or entry into our household. People subscribe for Country Delight products through milk, and because once you have an active captive household, the we started selling an economy of products around milk through cross sell. So today we are serving more than 2 million people through around 400,000 households across the top 12, 13 cities in the country. We're more than 1,000 crore revenue company, growing 8 to 10% month on month. And the primary core of our business is to give great products that are super high in quality, that delight the customer on a daily basis, and give it at a mass premium pricing, so that we address a large problem in the country related to the way food is evolving. I'm by profession com science engineer, then worked as a investment banker for 4 5 years before starting Country Delight. And the idea of Country Delight was primarily to look at something big and solve a big, deep-rooted problem in the country. And being a finance professional, you're pretty good with Excel, but you're not good with reality. So fortunately or unfortunately, picked a very tough and operationally intensive problem, but struggled for the first 4 5 years, being bootstrapped, figuring these difficult things out. But the advantage was not knowing much, helped you think first principles and solve some pretty nice problems in a very new and innovative way. And thankfully it's brought us where we are today.
Awesome. Thanks, Chakradhar. And I think the interesting thing about our today's panelists, Neha and Chakradhar, you both do something that is very mass market, right? Innerwear, everybody needs it. Milk, food, everybody needs it. So I think we are talking about a market that is massive TAM, which is exciting. Just to introduce myself for the audience, and Chakradhar to you, and Neha, co-founder CEO of Simpl. My journey is, before starting Simpl, I used to live in the US, used e-commerce in the US till 2015-ish time frame. And, when I moved back to India, I kind of noticed that, this is a very interesting, fast growing, but very young e-commerce market. We have phenomenal payment infrastructure like UPI, debit cards, and all that stuff. But 70% people still use cash to buy things online. And, that's when I kind of felt that there is an opportunity to sort of reimagine a new payment system, almost like a payment network, that solves this problem of cash on delivery by building trust in an e-commerce transaction between merchants and consumers. And so we conceived almost like a khata. Khata is a age-old way that a grocery person builds trust with their customer, regardless of their size or anything like that. And so we said, what is the equivalent of khata on the internet, so that internet brands can build customer relationships of trust, increase retention, and very importantly, reduce cash on delivery. So that's how, and so we are very always excited about working and learning more about brands and D2C brands and so on. Now coming to the topic of today's conversation, which is a team, right? Chakradhar, as you said, you started so long back, and you said first 4 5 years was just like these years, and I'm sure for you too, and for me too, right? It's just like a grind. And what makes it worthwhile and gets you through the thing is the team, the people that you work with. What are the things, and Chakradhar, maybe we can start with you here. in the journey, we all make our mistakes, but when we look back, we can be the wise people giving some, gyan, so to speak. Now that you kind of like are where you are, a successful brand and a company, you look back, walk the audience through your journey of team building. What are the things that you did that worked? What are the things were very bad mistakes you made? And sort of like overall, what is the insight that you have learned about building the team to grow a successful company?
Yeah, sure. So, Nitya, we can go with Chakri. I think it's shorter and easier for everyone. Yeah. But yeah. Uh, uh, so see, it's been a pretty long journey for us at Country Delight. We started in 2013, so it's almost 10 years. We're going to complete a decade. A good part of the decade was being bootstrapped, so you didn't have money basically, and there was a good natural selection of an initial team that basically believed in the vision and believed in what we were doing. And I would say we've been lucky as a business to help to have those initial people who started their journeys with us, and that's actually, you become very close when you're sharing same problems. You're sharing a similar journey. When you see very tough situations and someone is standing for you, those are associations for life that you will never forget, and you'll eternally be grateful as an individual to your team also. And as individuals, you become more like family members, and that I think has been the tightest bond that has helped us build a good team that we are today. And I would like to, not to overstate things, but I would like to share some things about, how Country Delight team has shaped up. We have a tech team of 100 people, just to give you a sense. In the last 3 years, only 4 people left, and that's unheard attrition in tech, at least. And this is not just tech, this is across the business. People who come to Country Delight usually are fairly satisfied, and the 2-3 things that has helped us build this out decently. One is we really hire for passion. We don't hire for skill set as much as passion. And if I have to choose between skill set and passion for the problem that you're going to solve, or passion for whatever you're spending 7-8 hours a day on, we always optimize for passion. And when people are passionate, they grow, they learn, they figure things out, and they grow on their own. They're very self-motivated. No one needs to supervise people. And second thing is, we have a very flat work culture. Anyone can speak to anyone, anyone can say anything to anyone. It is not important. It is more important for us to figure out the problems of the people working on the ground than the people who are the managers, or people like us who are at the top management in a business. And having a very bottoms up approach has helped us build a very inclusive, belonging kind of work culture that I'm personally very, very proud of. And few mistakes that have happened is, you can't always get this right. 2 or 3 in 10 go wrong, but the idea was always to hire for passion rather than skill set. And you can always find a role for a person who doesn't scale enough, and then you can go hire through a bottoms up approach. And this I think has helped us as a business a lot. This has given a lot of people a lot of work satisfaction in what they're doing, and and there is also a good strong alignment on the fundamental vision of the company, which is being obsessively customer centric in what you're doing. So no matter what you do, you have to solve the customer problem. And being in a field like dairy, which is like serving a customer on a daily basis, it's very, very it requires a habit formation at an organization level to think so much about customers as well. So these are a few things which have helped us, not helped us, but we're still learning. I won't say that we've known it all and done it all.
Awesome. And Neha, how would you describe that journey for yourself?
All right. So the question is, when you are starting out, what how to go about building a team or how to think about it, right? Okay, so if I look back, I think things have changed quite a bit in 10 years. The kind of workforce at that time and kind of people we have today who are joining workforce, because you will have a larger, younger workforce. If things are different, so I will still speak in today's context. So I think one has to be very, because you are going to be bootstrapped, very sure of certain functions that you absolutely cannot do without. So for example, if you are not a techie yourself, or then you need somebody to head tech, and that's one, and if your business requires that. So certain functions you need to budget the money for. One mistake that I did, or we as a team did initially, and certain I've seen other entrepreneurs also do, is not to keep money aside for, let's say, for getting the right talent, critical. And secondly, other mistake that fortunately we didn't make, but I do see many people make, is that when you have these stars in your team who are performing really well, you also expect them to kind of keep working for you under the market. You don't pay them as competitive as market. So I think certain people you need to keep above market, because they'll keep you afloat. So you have your team identify the stars and have the middle rung, which will possibly keep come, go, etc. And some bottom runners. But certain people should always be, they should not feel like they've been underpaid and being taken advantage of. And this is maybe a kind of I would say not a very popular answer, but this is the reality of today. Unlike 10 years back, startup had a different feel to it. Today, people come to startups thinking that there'll be fun at work and there'll be money at work. So it's not about fun and passion anymore. So in today's context, I think certain things make sense. And then as the teams grow, as the brand is 7 years old, one thing we realize that there are certain people who become flag bearers of your culture. So as you go through hardships, certain things which businesses anyway go through cycles, but also certain things which are out of your control, like COVID happened, or when demonetization happened, and maybe a couple of more events like that may have happened 7 years. So you need somebody who can carry a voice. Like you saying will obviously help, but there are people who will keep talking about what it means to work with Clovia, and that the team will take care of you. I think that is also very critical to build people like that.
Yeah, very interesting, Neha. And thanks for those very practical points that you pointed out. And I think one thing I just realized, both of you started your startups in 2012. So
yeah, similar. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Cool. A decade, and I started 2015. So you guys are 3 years ahead. And I think one thing I want to point out, which is I think super important for all our listeners and entrepreneurs and want to be entrepreneurs, is that Neha and Chakri, you might think now that they are successful, they have these brands and all of that, but it took them 10 years to kind of get to where here, right?
Yeah.
It's not like something that they did 2 years and last month they started, and next thing you know, there is this growth going on, and there is crazy amount of money right at the gate. Being able to just stay the course and for the long period of time is a very important trait as an entrepreneur. And then I think the equally important thing, as Neha and Chakri mentioned, is not just you as an individual or your co-founder, like a couple of people. There has to be a core team that has to be willing to go the path, 10 years, 20 years, often, right? Multi-decades. And one thing is very clear from both of you, you're both very passionate about what you do. And I'm sure that flows into the culture and the team. And Chakri, you mentioned passion a lot, right? You hire for passion. Skills can be taught, right? And over time, with the right attitude, people can do this. That's very interesting. And I think, I would resonate that, hiring people, I think one thing is very clear, right? Knowledge workers, whether you're an engineer or a marketing person or anything like that, there's so many jobs out there and anybody can pay whatever. And obviously it is important to, money and the compensation is important, but what is something that even if Facebook or a Google can't compete with, there's a passion for a problem, right? So I think instilling that in the culture and team obviously comes from the leadership team, the founders, etc. And I think that's a secret sauce here. Cool. Now, I want to take a quick detour from the topic, but I just realized there is an important angle here for, I think, both of you, which I think will be relevant for our listeners. Neha, you work in the area of intimate wear, right? Inner wear and so on, right? And Chakri, you do food starting with milk. And both are, to me, I feel as a consumer, you need to trust them, right? For me to use and be loyal to a milk brand or a intimate wear brand or something like that, I need to have some element of trust. And building trust in D2C and online is a different ballgame, right? I would love to hear any both high level and tactical tips that you might have. Neha, we can start with you. That you use to build trust with your customer, because what you said was the crux of the aha was this girl who is in a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 1 city, whatever city, going, and it's obviously uncomfortable experience and so on, and so now you are online, and will it fit me, will it not fit me, etc. And how do you build that trust with the customer so that they start with you and then stay with you?
Yeah, so I think, so for lingerie, for example, a big concern is privacy. You want privacy not just from your neighbors, but also within the house with your household members. So we thought actually quite a bit. So initially, in 95% traffic used to be on desktop, because you give the context of us starting in 2012. So much has happened, changed since then. So we had a very interesting feature where we had a kind of a light switch. And if you toggle it, then the entire site will go dark, and only when you hover over a picture, the picture will come alive. And we realized that even people who were working in our office were using it so much. So you have to, yes, you have to keep working. And today what we do is, and we're possibly the only person in e-commerce space and in country doing it, that if somebody wants to return our products, then the executive who's come to collect it will not check at all. He will take the entire box back as is. He will not count the pieces, nothing he will do. And so we get our fair share of fraud. We have this huge pile in our warehouse with things like socks, cutlery, and like a variety of things coming back. But then it has helped us build a huge amount of trust with our customers. So I think one very important thing is to keep listening to your to the customers and keep understanding where is it that they are getting stuck on it. And I think one thing also helps is to have part of your user base working with you in the team. So one thing we've realized, for example, because we are in Noida or North India, so large part of our team is North Indian. So the festivals that are big for us are largely, sale-wise, are largely North Indian festivals, and not as much as Ganesh Chaturthi or Onam, because our team is not able to think like that and plan like that. So I think it helps to have your team members who are part of your TG.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And Chakri, I think milk and food is one of those things, especially milk, right? I mean, there is this massive supply chain infrastructure issues, and there is only one time you deliver bad milk, and then next thing you know, the customer doesn't trust, right? How do you think about it, and what are your practical tips?
So Nitya, I mean, it's actually not as tough as it is for Neha. I can clearly say that it is like we thrive on customer feedback. Like every day I speak to 2-3 customers, even today, to figure out problems, and I can really understand how massive of a problem it can be for someone like Neha to figure things out when people don't want to talk about these things. And truly, I mean, it's kudos to you that you're able to figure these things out. But for us, Nitya, the primary thing is we thrive on customer feedback, customer centricity. We keep working iteratively, massively iteratively on feedback, and it's been a daily journey for us. Take the big problem first, solve it so iteratively that you perfect yourself on that problem. It started with developing the product first, then developing the convenience first, then developing the communication. We give these milk testing kits to customers that help them test the milk at their doorstep. We gave them quality reports, which people typically may do once a year. We give it every week to the customers on the app. You're able to see the journey of the product. So a lot of transparency, communication, repeat, iterative, internal thinking on solving the customer's core problem, whether it is in the product or in the service, and just massively iterating towards solving. And fortunately, because we serve our customers daily, we have a very strong retention in the business. We basically are able to figure this out. And even in products, initially milk took us 4 5 years. Then we started developing milk value added products. Then now slowly, there is an engine that's been built within the org, where, there's like 10 15 people whose only passion is the products, and they work on different categories, different products, different supply chains, keep solving the problems so iteratively, and scale only when you're comfortable. That, like, in these things, you can't risk the brand. So only when you've built a critical mass of problem solving and you're sure that 99% of the problems are solved, you start scaling. That goes back to, planning your capital in such a way that, you don't end up with, without capital before you solve the problem. All these things are like, there's so many smaller things to it, but the core is just thriving on customer feedback and solving for it every single day.
Totally, yeah. One of the things we always talk about at Simpl is trust. Is really about consistently doing the right thing for your customer, and just keeping on giving that value, and then increasing value through product iteration and learning more about the customer. And if you can do it, and that never ends, right? I mean, like, it could be 10 years, 20 years, 100 years journey you can take, and that becomes a competitive advantage because trust compounds.
That's the only way you can stay relevant. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we took a important, I think, detour there. But coming back to team, one of the things, we talked about passion, we talked about various elements of, what a team is. But as we all know now, right, you've been in this journey for 10 years. I've been in journey for 5 years. You have hundreds of people and so on. When the team becomes, when you start with 5, 10 people in a room, culture is kind of like in the air, right? I mean, you don't have to define anything. And then we all know we don't think about it, and then we don't talk about it, we don't write it down and stuff. And then 20 people are there, and then no one knows what's going on. And then 100, 200, 400, 1,000. And so what is very important is culture itself, right? And everybody to be aligned on that. People call it culture, operating principles, leadership values. Different names are there, but I believe it's a very important element of building a team that endures multiple decades. Can we talk about that, Chakri? How do you think about it, and how does Country Delight think it's about it? And what are your practical tips to sort of founders as they think about their journey going forward?
Yeah. See, I mean, as I completely agree with you that, as an organization grows, it's very difficult for you to percolate the thoughts and values with which you have started. But, 2-3 things which I would say, and people keep telling me also that it's unsustainable to build a good culture at really large scale without institutionalizing things, like, building a set of principles which you publish everywhere. But I think that a lot of it comes through accessibility, like keeping the organization flat, being accessible to everyone, and solving the small problems for people. Like, someone will say कि यार मेरे को मतलब मैं 3 घंटे travel कर रहा हूँ daily. How do I solve this problem? And when you start solving these small problems for people at different phases in their life, but working for the business, then it starts. You start thinking of people like family, and I think that plays a very strong role in working together, in what is culture? At the end of the day, if you're able to retain people, you've built a good culture. That is the summary of a good culture, according uh, to me. And that if you are retaining people, one is the monetary problem of people, and second is the many practical problems that people have in their life beyond money. And if you are able to, as a business, think empathetically with people and try to solve beyond money problems for people, then and if they are able to do the work that they like, they're able to see the growth that they want, then people are very happy. And that is what we would really like to preserve and keep doing at it. I think we've been doing a good job at it till now, because our attrition is very low in the business. People have been growing, people are happy. There's a good culture of accessibility. Whenever new people come in the team, they take 6-7 months to adjust or understand the culture. Spending that time with the new people, new leadership, plays a big role in ensuring that the culture moves forward, because every person is different at the end of the day. And I was like, few days back, I was reading an interesting quote by Richard Branson. He said, like, he was saying that, if you treat people the way you would like to be treated, that's good culture in a business. And that's all there is probably about it.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. Neha, what are your thoughts there?
So on culture, I think I think Chakri pretty much got quite a few good points, but specifically, I think empathy is worked for Clovia. One thing that also worked actually initially when I spoke about flag bearers of culture is the first 100 people. Actually, for us, it was first 200 people we interviewed ourselves. So whether even if it was a customer service agent reporting to somebody, a layer in between, or there were other people, even if it was a 2 or 3 layer down, but first 200 for no other reason apart from the feeling that the temperament is fine and other aspects, but also because you build a direct connect. So I think that is very important, that accessibility is but that direct connect was very important, and I think that held us in good faith for a long time. And now we do the reverse. Now, specifically, I'm in charge at Clovia to take care of all exit interviews. Anybody who leaves from Clovia, I sit down with them and I understand what happened and what's the reason of leaving. Even we are happy to see them go to a better place, better package, which we could need, but what really happened. So I think that accessibility and that building one-on-one connect is very important. Second thing is, I think from that accessibility point, so till date, I've never worked in a cabin. I always, my desk is right in the floor and it's open. I've developed thick skin so I can work under a lot of commotion, but it helps to, keep the whole, to have that, have your finger on the pulse of your team that day. I think an entrepreneur, people who are starting out, they have to think of themselves as actors on stage. The energy that you carry, that's the energy you give out to audience, and they start to feel it. So you have to, when you walk into into your office, however shitty your sales are that day, you cannot drag your feet. Or whatever happened in board meeting the previous evening, you cannot drag your feet the morning after. I think your body language really makes a lot of difference. And one practical advice that I got from somebody long back, which has helped me, and I will copy paste it there, is that when you're speaking to the team, you decide that today is going to be a positive message or a negative message. Don't mix the two. Either go with whatever you are going to tell, sales kharab hai, things are not working out, fix this, fix that. Or you say, or everything, or you are just telling positive whenever you are addressing the team. I think that really helped, because earlier I used to possibly make that mistake.
Sounds good. Totally right. I think we all, like, one of the things about managing and management is to be very clear in communication. I think it was Winston Churchill who said the greatest illusion of communication is that it happened, right?
Yeah.
When you are giving feedback or any message, as I say, shit sandwiching it, right? Where you are saying good, bad, good.
Yeah.
Basically, you did not say anything, and that is the starting point of miscommunication and people being on the same different pages. One of the things that as we talked about, I mean, clearly culture, values, super important to build an enduring company over a long time. We talked about things like one-on-one connect, empathy, right, amongst team members with each other, management with team, etc. The whole 9 yards. Neha, you said words like finger on the pulse, actor on the stage, right? And totally agree. The question I have, which I think all of us are probably figuring out, is in the post-COVID world, where Zoom is like this. Had we been 5 years back, we'd probably be sitting on some sort of a stage in a hotel room, hotel conference room. But here we are on Zoom, and we do so many meetings on Zoom. Some companies are completely remote, some are hybrid, some are this thing. I would love to learn from you all. Two things. One, how are you operating your company now? Right? Is it fully in office, remote, hybrid, whatever? And in that context, how the tactics changed to be able to do the same things, build a culture, right? Whether you are Zoom or not, whatever, you have to do the one-on-one connect, right? You have to have empathy, you have to have finger on the pulse, you have to have actor on the stage, right? So Chakri, let's start with you. What is your format, and like what are your practical stuff that you guys are working on?
So Nitya, there are two aspects to our business. One is the operational aspect, and second is the HO teams that are there. Operationally, we have to be fully active all the time, and there's no two ways about it. From a HO standpoint, over the last 2 years, we've grown like maybe 5 to 6x as a business. And fortunately or unfortunately, we've had to build multi-locational teams, hire wherever people are available, whoever is available, as long as they like what they do and they're able to get the job done. And so the company has become a hybrid work culture environment. And I would say that we've navigated this quite well. And one very important thing, whether you're offline or online or irrespective of the way you're operating, is to keep communicating with everyone in the teams. And if you're actively communicating and you're talking, you'll find a way of communicating with each other and understanding each other's problems and solving them. That's been a big learning for me. And I think as organizations scale, this becomes a big problem, because you will always operate at multiple locations, whether COVID, no COVID, and if you have to keep everything together, regular communication at every level, and is the way to, like say, feel the pulse of what's happening in the business is what I think.
Got it. Neha, how about you?
Okay, so I think good thing that happened under lockdown is that we all learned how to work and communicate online. And one good example is this session, or you could possibly have now we can hire talent from other cities and have them work remotely or do meetings that we don't want to travel long for and have them online. But I don't think it's something that you can do 100% now. So when we started in 2020, the lockdown happened, it worked beautifully. Everybody reported that their productivity has spiked because they have that many extra hours, they are able to focus. Everybody's calendar became very, very disciplined because, if 10 people are converging for one meeting, then nobody would be late, etc. So all that happened. But as new people came onto team and as time passed, we saw that it was getting difficult to get new team members assimilated that well, and especially on the culture. And secondly, I think over a period of time, the productivity also, honestly, I felt that we collectively felt that has fallen for quite a few team members. So today we have 100% work from office, wherever the office is, in Delhi, in whichever part of the country, but be in office. I think it keeps us all disciplined and committed. There is, an old saying about habits. I think certain habits need to be maintained. But we just spoke about empathy and the practical problems that people face in life. And when that is required, then of course, the adjustments are made. If somebody doesn't have childcare for that day, they work from home. It was raining heavily in Delhi past 2-3 days. So certain then we did all of that. So, but that is all on exception basis. As companies scale, actually as companies scale, as well as when you are a young organization, I think what you need the teams to be around and working with each other to keep going, I think in that, with that full force.
Yeah, awesome. I want to ask sort of like one last question, and after that, let's move to some question and answers that I think folks are asking, very interesting questions. And anybody listening, please, if you want to just put questions in that chat, we'll try to take as many as possible. Chakri, I think you mentioned this, or you alluded to it, which is, as a company grows, right? So you start in 2012 and now 22. You are 5 people in a room, 20 people and so on, then hundreds of people and so on. And then what happens is, roles change and responsibilities change. And what also happens sometimes is there are people who don't scale with the company in terms of whatever they were doing in 2013-14. They may not be the best people to do in 2017, so you have to hire someone, etc. And then, of course, we are all humans and we are so attached to a company and passionate and stuff. So you have to change roles, right? Which always is, complicated because it just also means sometimes you're layering someone. Someone might be reporting directly to you, but 5 years out, maybe it's not the right thing. So you have to hire someone else, right? And Neha, I'm sure that has happened at Clovia as well. Let's start with Neha. How have you thought about organizing the team itself? And any practical tips, mistakes you made? And this is with respect to delegation. We all know, as people say, right, hire people smarter than you and let them do the job, right? And yet it's hard, right?
Yeah.
We as founders, and then of course everyone else sort of want to hold on to their what I call Legos, right? And scale happens when you give away your Legos, and there is a great blog post about it, by the way. So yeah, Neha, what have you seen? What are your practical tips on scaling yourself and of course your team?
See, whatever the levers of your business are. So for Clovia, it's product, inventory, and actually practical levers are inventory and marketing. This is where our money goes. Brand, etc. is also there. But if we mess up on these, we won't have money to run our business tomorrow. So there are very smart people who are running both sides of the business, but then the control or the check has to be there. For example, on marketing, digital marketing, or performance marketing. I think the first hire, because we were speaking on team, is that one executive, MIS executive, absolutely dedicated to yourself, should be there, who's just sending reports to you early in the morning or whatever your schedule is on your WhatsApp. So for our performance marketing, we have reports coming to us every half an hour and 1 hour for 2 different fields. But so that's the control we have. We are looking at cost of goods, sales promotion, bottom line for each channel. We have several channels of sales from our own stores versus marketplaces and offline stores, etc. So for each level, you are checking what is your P&L going to be at the end of the day. So that control you keep with yourself, but that doesn't mean that you have to run that piece, that channel, or that particular field yourself. So I think one needs to keep hiring smart people to do that job. Otherwise, you won't be able to do what you need to do next.
Yeah. Chakri, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you were saying, Nitya, that you can't be a know-it-all at beyond a point. You're scaling up as people around you come and build things, and it's like a hive mind that needs to work to grow an organization. One thing that I do, which helps me a lot, is when someone is joining Country Delight, I try to imagine a 3-year path for that person. What is this guy going to do? How do I visualize him scaling? And I try to be as honest as possible with that person, and that's why I said that we optimize for passion over skill set, because skill set can be built, but if the person is passionate and is able to visualize a 3-year path within the organization, then a lot of the problem is solved, because what he knows what he is coming for. to, or he or she knows what that person is coming for. And then from time to time, you're honest with each other. You give the person as much opportunity as possible to scale. But when the right point comes, usually I found people to be very open-minded because they get to learn. At the end of the day, they get to grow when there is someone better coming who they should work with to take the organization forward. It has not happened that someone has left Country Delight uh, because their scale got restricted, or someone else, they were reporting to someone else, because usually they have found that they have also reached their ceiling and there is something else needed to take this forward from that point. And that kind of has helped us a lot in navigating through these problems.
Awesome. I love the word hive mind, Chakri, there. And for anyone, for the context, like what a hive mind is, a collective intelligence, right? Where there are so many people, and I guess it comes from the hive and the sort of the bees, where, it's like so many of them, and it seems like they're all doing this, but they're all it's almost like one consciousness, and it's super hard to build it, but when those are build great companies. I'll use that word again. Hive mind. All right, cool. So let's move to a few questions that audience is asking. And I think one thing I'm seeing is there are a few questions about, we talked about passion so much, and I think no one will dispute that, right? But it's so hard to interview for passion, right? I mean, how do you figure out whether this person passionate or not? I think, obviously we all have interview strategies and sort of like people who are making sure you know your skill, etc. But passion is such a complex thing. So I would love to, just like practically, Chakri, as you have hired so many people, and then we all have made hiring mistakes, and we all know hiring mistakes are so costly for the company, for the person, and so on, right? And so being better at it is so good, but interviewing for passion is just hard, right? So what are you doing, Chakri, that you feel is working? And what are the things you've done that did not work? And what are your learnings there, especially on the passion part?
So Nitya, I think in this, there are two parts to this problem. One is to know what questions to ask, actually. And I think that comes with meeting a lot of people for a particular role. So when and it takes some hard work and effort to figure that out, especially if the role is new and you're not very clear on what is needed from that person. If you meet 10 people for a particular role, you figure out by the 6th or 7th person that, what is the crux of what are the KRAs of the key responsibility areas of that role. And then, so that is your hard work, and that's what you, like as an individual, as you need to do to figure out who is the right person probably for the business. The second part is, once you start figuring that out, asking the other person what situations that person has been in, and understanding the practical way that person has navigated that situation, where you can't really talk your way around something like that. Like you have to really be detailed about, a problem that you have solved for in your work in the past, where you start seeing how that person has navigated, and, you start figuring out, what the person is saying, whether the person really likes what he or she is doing. I think that gives you a reasonable sense on whether that person likes what they are doing or not. If the person likes what they are doing, then the second part is how much they relate to what you are doing as a business. That also, it starts showing through their belief system, how they've, at a personal level, if you interact about their upbringing, their family values, their family thinking, you start getting a sense on the personal aspects of that person. So it is a decent amount of hard work to figure these things out.
Only in India you can do that. I think that's very.
Neha, how do you sort of like
What
interview
Chakri,
for passion or the fire that one has?
so what Chakri just said, that you speak to the person about his family backgrounds, and when you speak to about his life so far, his schooling, etc., you get the sense of how this person has grown up. And but it's a very I don't think one can say that it's not like politically right if we were in US, but yes, in India really helps to understand the person. One of my one very favorite thing to do is, and many times I've had to actually Google myself about that role or that stream, because I may not be part of the department before going into an interview, is to ask very simply, tell me one problem that you've solved in your current role. And the kind of problems, when they tell you, you can figure out whether it was a very generic and somebody has really applied themselves and thought about their work passionately. So it's worked well for me. The second thing that has worked for me is I try to evaluate, and I personally like people who stay as students, who like to study their subject, whether it's tech or it's brand marketing or it's designing. When I'm speaking to them, if I get the sense that they are still trying to read back on, and they are conversant with different blogs or whatever is happening around the world in their subject, I think it's a big green flag for you to hire such a person.
Yeah. And Neha, whether it is for judging for passion or something else, what is your just like favorite interview question that you feel like really kind of like draws the insights that you're looking for? Like, what is that one question that you feel like, after testing out hundreds of people you've interviewed, really works to get some insights about the person itself?
So, like I said, very simply, one big problem that you solved, and what was the solution that you came up with, or even what is the problem that you identified, even if you could not come up with a good solution in whatever current role that they are in. And the second is, I try to figure out, for example, I recently interviewed for a marketing role, and then I try to figure out what is the math that person has come up with respect to media spend and its impact on brand. So, and it's not your standard media agency number that if that person is able to figure out the kind of KPIs he's going to place, the thought process has to be logical. And for designing, it's different, of course. But that I try and understand whether the chain of reasoning is making sense to me or not, or whether there's a chain at all.
Got it. Awesome. And Chakri, what is your sort of favorite interview question?
So it's pretty similar to what Neha is saying, but I would say the two things. One is understanding a deep-rooted problem that a person has solved in the line of work that person is. And second is, again, relatability to the problem that you're solving. Like, for example, I'll tell you one senior person who joined us a year back. He was coming from gaming space, and he was not happy that, gaming is a positive, like gambling is a positive contribution to the society, and he wanted to be a part of a business that contributes in a positive way. And this is what I mean when I say, what is your background thinking, what like whether you're relating, what is your thought process as an individual when it comes to your family and these things. That is what I mean, that where is this person's mind at? Can the person relate to the problem that we are solving? Because at the end of the day, you have to spend 18 hours a day or 12 hours a day, thinking about that. That's all.
No, makes sense. One of the things I have felt, and it's sometimes not easy to dig into it, but yeah, I try to look for anything that a person does that has nothing to do with their career or their or ability to make money or something that stands out, right? It could be athletics, it could be reading, traveling, photography, whatever. And sort of like that is where you kind of like get a sense that this person does it not because it's a career, you make money or etc., but they do something because they like it and love it, and they actually are good at it, right? And they've just spent time, whether it's playing guitar or music or something, and And I've often felt that if a person is passion is oftentimes is an inherent quality which can manifest itself. And Chakri, I'm sure, like, when you were young, you probably never thought that I will start a company with selling food online or milk online and stuff. And I'm sure you're passionate, and then this is where you stumbled into some insight, and then you said, let's do this.
Very
And,
true.
yeah, like yourself as well, as you were growing, you obviously knew this problem, but you did not know this problem, and you were doing whatever jobs and roles, and then there was a passion clearly, and I'm sure it manifested in, I often see people like, I love to understand what they were like when they were not 5 years, but 5th grade to 12th grade, right? What were they doing in college, school, right? Of course, there are people who nail it, right? A pluses and, high GPAs and stuff. And that doesn't mean you are passionate. That just could also mean that you study a lot. But yeah, but it's super hard to interview for passion. And I think, Chakri, one thing I do relate to it is interview is a skill that you pick up. No one is good. You just have to go through it, right? You don't
Yeah,
do
it's a
hundreds
rigor.
of interviews.
Yeah.
And I think I read somewhere people become very good at interviews after 1,000 interviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think Steve Jobs said that. Steve Jobs, right? So 1,000 is a number where you start having the right amount of patterns to match. And yeah, imagine how long it takes. It takes years. Anyways, this has been a great session, Neha and Chakri. Thanks for all the insights and the practical tips that you shared. As we sort of wrap up, Neha, what would be your last parting? Like, you're talking to entrepreneurs here who are probably where you were in 2012. Like, so imagine those shoes. What is one thing that you will say to kind of like help them navigate what they are going to do in the next 10 years?
Okay. Actually, I don't know. I don't have a last word. I think as an entrepreneur, you've got to do a lot. So what I will do is, instead, I saw some questions. I'll answer just one of it. Is that okay, Nitya?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, somebody, from Kaushik, I read a question about whether ESOPs can be offered to a person that you really like, or do I have to wait till my valuation rise to offer ESOP? I think counter, it's better to offer at the current valuation before it rises anyway, I think logically, but I think as a young entrepreneur, that's the only thing you have to, but also remember that equity is the most expensive proposition that you have, and also the only proposition you have at the moment. So, but it really helps. ESOPs are a powerful tool to keep your team members engaged. Somebody had also asked in the comments, how do you go about finding co-founders? And I felt that it's not necessary. If you don't have a co-founder specifically in your inner circle who you trust absolutely completely, then it's better to have an ESOP program, somebody on a very attractive ESOP program, but have a part of your, join them as part of your team members. And I think you'll appreciate that on 7th year or 10th year, you will have certain people who would have made a lot of money out of this. And that's a absolutely different high that you get.
Awesome. Thanks, Neha. And Chakri, you can do one of two things. If you feel one of the questions, you feel like you have a insight, please feel free to take one of the questions, or any parting call, advice.
So firstly, just to complete the line of thought on what Neha was saying, I personally think that, you can be greedy about, saving money for the business, but not when it comes to employees or team, because team builds businesses. That is one thing that I very strongly believe in. ESOPs should be given without a second thought to people who would like to invest their life in the company. That's very respectable of them to invest their life in something that you're seeking to build. And secondly, like, if one is planning a business, one of my biggest learnings was that you have to give yourself 4-5 years of time. You have to give 4-5 years of runway and plan everything around it. Take the smaller problems, solve them first. Take the low-hanging fruits, solve them first, and keep iterating. Is what has helped me the most in my journey.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. And I think just to, maybe put some more my thoughts on that topic is, as you build a team and as you have a whole set of passionate people who will be definitely going through a lot of ups and downs, what is incredibly important besides passion and camaraderie and empathy is alignment of incentives over a long period of time, right?
Absolutely.
And ESOPs is the only way to align that long period of incentives, because any salary or money is monthly or whatever, annual. And the reality is no business is ever built in a year or 2 years, or sometimes even in 4 years. You have to be yourself, and then a lot of people have to be working for multiple decades, and there are so many reasons to work, but one of them is also wealth creation, and ESOPs is the only way to sort of, from an incentive alignment point of view, to do it. And I think people should, focus and like really think about ESOPs as that currency, which is also one of the most limited currencies you have, as Neha pointed out. Well, this is a great wrap up.
Just one small thing, Nitya. I see an interesting question which says, how do you hire LinkedIn, this thing?
Yeah.
So having a good recruiter helps a lot when you're scaling your team. And second thing, which has helped me a lot, if there is any inbound, if there is anyone interested in working with you, you should always like give them the highest preference, because those are the people who really want to be with you. I think that's helped us a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is, I mean, you both are, obviously everybody wants, I think there are probably so many questions. Maybe Upasana, we can sort of like maybe send it to Chakri and Neha and like see if they want to just like put some bullet points, and we can send it to the audience. But thank you, Chakri and Neha, for your time. This was awesome. And I would look forward to, doing this another time with you both.
No, this is actually wonderful. Team building, finding talent. I mean, it's such a critical issue. There are so many challenges. Practically every entrepreneur, every founder is struggling finding the right set of talent. And clearly, we get to hear that the HR problem, HR sort of elephant in the room is actually handled by a lot of the human sort of element involved in it. Great insights from both Neha and Chakradhar. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nitya. Folks, thank you for joining us. We are working on building a wonderful D2C community here. This is a series of sessions. We'll be back each month, and we'll be in touch with you on which of what topic we are addressing at each of these. Thank you for joining us. We'll be in touch, and we will in fact collect the questions and share them with Neha and Chakradhar, and whenever they have the time, they will be able to then revert to you on those. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.